Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural episode of PTV Heat. I'm your host, Cooper Tennant. I'm here with Heaven Hill, and today we'll be discussing our predictions for SummerSlam 2021. SummerSlam is known as the biggest party of the summer, and the match card is absolutely stacked with a total of 10 matches in all. Heaven, how are you feeling heading into this Saturday show?
I am feeling electric. This weekend is going to be huge. You've got SummerSlam on Saturday. You've got NXT TakeOver 36 on Sunday. We won't be covering that here as we're more focused on the biggest party of the summer. But I can tell you right now, for this weekend, I'm going to be glued in front of my screen, to say the least.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and just start things off with, I kind of ranked these matches and what I feel like will be the match card for this upcoming Saturday. We're going to start off with Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Now, these two competitors have a lot of history together. I feel like WWE hasn't really capitalized on that history quite as much as they could have, being in three-man band and all that kind of thing. Who do you have for this match?
You know what, Cooper? I would be very, very surprised if Jinder Mahal won this match. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I feel like this feud between the two of them has more so been focused on smaller things like Drew's sword or the motorcycle that Jinder was riding or Veer and Shanky and their interference. Like, I feel like they could have done so much more, like you said, with their history from, three-man band. Like, back then, those guys were down in the dumps, like just low card, just fodder, comedy fodder, if you will. And now they're on one of the biggest cards of the year. Like, I feel like their growth should be applauded, and the history between the two of them should be mentioned way more than just like a one-off line from the commentary booth. As far as a match prediction, I would say Drew wins handily. Jinder's going to try and have Veer and Shanky interfere because, of course, they're there for a reason. And I think Drew is going to come out on top. And I think this win is going to be important, for him to get some momentum back so that he can get closer to the WWE title picture. And I think getting a win at SummerSlam, one of the big four pay-per-views, I think it's going to be huge to boost his stock going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. Part of me feels really bad for Drew. I mean, he was the WWE champion, which is like the highest prestige in wrestling. Basically only during COVID. Like, he won the belt at WrestleMania last year. That was in the Performance Center with no crowd. And he lost the belt at the first, a public wrestling show with the crowd at WrestleMania this year to Bobby Lashley. And I mean, I don't know, maybe it was COVID, maybe it was the pandemic, but I loved Drew McIntyre's reign, but it really felt like there was something missing. So I'm glad that they're having him kind of not build his way back up, because it's not like he ever went anywhere, but it's kind of nice that they're having him do some mid-card stuff. I do love Jinder, and I would love to see Jinder win, because he's another, like you said, he's improved so much. Like, he's also a former champion, which is interesting to say. But I'm also going to have to go with Drew McIntyre. I don't know, honestly, if Jinder loses, I don't know what he's going to end up doing. I'm kind of worried for him. I mean, I'm hoping he doesn't just stay as like kind of a comedy act. I really think there's a lot of potential there. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see on Sunday, but Drew McIntyre is my pick. Moving on, we got Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie. Now, Alexa Bliss was heavily tied in with the Fiend character with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt's no longer with the company. Have you been a fan, before predictions, have you been a fan of Alexa Bliss's kind of spooky character?
No, man, I don't know. Like, it started out great. Like, it started out really cool. Like, I was a fan of the interaction between the two of them. And then the way they phased Bray out, and now it's just Alexa's playground. And, like, that was cool. Right, like, I was a fan of that, but the introduction of Lily and then Alexa's playground devolving from like a spooky area to now it's like a weekly interview section,
and people just show up.
They're just there. They're just it's really not making sense now. And I think also, like, I don't know, that's the thing, right? Like, it's not her fault. Like, she's doing everything she can with this character. She's awesome. Like, just everything about her, just the look and how passionate she is when it comes to this. Like, it's some of her best work thus far in the company. I just think, as far as like a behind the scenes perspective, it's starting to shift a little towards comedy. And now we're seeing people aren't taking the character as serious. Like the whole thing with the mind control, like that was
Hmm.
cool. And then she started using it on Reginald
Yeah.
and Shayna Baszler losing left and right. Like it's just now the snowball's rolling down the hill,
Right.
and things are starting to get out of hand.
I completely agree. I think it's so weird because I like stupid stuff in wrestling. Like I like literally any kind of like I mean I like Orange Cassidy, who's a comedy wrestler, quote unquote. I mean, The Undertaker is probably the most famous wrestler, and he's like an undead guy who like steals people's souls. I mean, but something about like a doll being used, like an undead doll or Lily or whatever.
Like,
Like
oh my god.
it kind of just it's very I don't know because I like Alexa Bliss a lot. Like she's been consistently one of my favorite wrestlers, and I believe that this is a character that she really believes in and she really enjoys because she's acting pretty
Mhm.
well, as this like demented character. But something about having that doll, like, I'm really not here for. Believe it or not, I'm really not a fan of Lily. I mean, I think Alexa's probably gonna win. Like that's my pick. But man, like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this match is like a DQ, something with Lily and Dewdrop, Eva Marie's like sidekick, who honestly really think Dewdrop should just step away from Eva Marie because I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about this wrestler until she showed up on Raw.
Now that you mentioned her, I feel like, I mean, we've kind of seen it over the past several weeks, where Eva steals the credit from
Hmm.
Dewdrop at the conclusion of a match. I feel like this Saturday is where we'll see Dewdrop kind of separate herself from Eva, maybe like, refuse to run interference, or if she won't
Hmm.
help Eva, when she's controlled by Lily, or maybe Alexa will control Dewdrop to turn on Eva. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
they'll factor in definitely, and that'll lead in a split between the two. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I don't watch NXT UK on a weekly basis,
Neither
but
do
from
I.
what I've heard, from what I've heard, she was doing a lot of great work over there, and I think she would be an asset to the division on her own. So I'm excited.
Hmm.
Whenever they split them up.
Yeah, I agree. Even if neither of us are that like sure of either character, we're definitely we don't know what's going to happen at this match, which is kind of exciting to think about. So moving on to our first championship match, we have the United States Championship, the champion of Sheamus versus Damien Priest. I was super excited whenever Sheamus won the United States Championship, but I feel like it's been kind of not underwhelming, but I feel like I expected more. This isn't anything to do with him because he's been having some amazing matches, mostly on TV, not on pay-per-views. When Humberto Carrillo came back, there was, I want to say like maybe a month straight of matches with Sheamus where
Mm-hmm.
they were just killing it, week after week. But it feels like he hasn't really been wrestling anybody that feels like a big deal, I guess. Like all these people he's been wrestling feel like, oh yeah, Sheamus is going to win because it's Sheamus. He's reliable. He's kind of a technician. But I'm interested to see what Damian Priest can do because since coming up to the main roster in that amazing Bad Bunny versus Miz and Morrison match at WrestleMania
Yeah.
that oh my god I love, he hasn't really done much other than feud with Miz and Morrison. So while I do think that this
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus match is kind of out of the blue, I'm extremely excited to see what the two of them can do together. And I'm gonna go with Damian Priest to win. It doesn't make any sense storyline wise because Damian Priest is still in a feud with Miz and Morrison. But I just want to see Damian Priest, one with a belt, and two, I want to see what he can do with it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I was gonna say my prediction is Damian Priest as well this weekend. I just feel like at this point, it's best to give him that mid card title and see what he can do. Like when he had the North American title in NXT, it was some of his best work week in and week out. Like we're talking matches with Gargano, and it was just awesome. Like week after week from him, and that's what made me feel like I didn't really know him like that. And then he got the belt, and I was like, man, like I get it. It clicked because
Mm-hmm.
he's just his size and his athleticism in the ring and what he can do. He's just a character, and I think he's awesome. Like you said with Sheamus, with the whole nose injury with Humberto Carrillo, and like I just feel like he's too good to
Mm-hmm.
have a mid card title.
Right.
Like I feel like he could just be interjected in a feud with Bobby Monday, and it
Yeah.
would be awesome. So I feel like take the belt off him, allow him to go back to the upper card, where he in my opinion, rightfully belongs. Let Damien Priest run with the mid-card title, have him, feud with everyone in that area and see what he does, now that he's going to be consistently in front of crowds, because he can get those reactions. I mean, we saw it at WrestleMania and we saw it in NXT. Like, he's a fan favorite. And I think once you give him a title run, we'll get to see what he can do.
Yeah, I think Damian Priest is way too talented for his legacy on the main roster to be like, was in a tag team with Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. I mean, an amazing match.
I thought it was phenomenal.
Incredible. That Canadian Destroyer
so cool.
on the outside of the ring was insane.
It was so awesome.
I mean, I was watching it. I agree. Like, we are a little off topic, but like I could literally talk about that match for so long. I should. We got to keep going. I gotta stop myself. So we both picked Damien Priest, which honestly I'm a little surprised. I kind of expected at least one of us to pick Sheamus for that. Moving on, the Usos, the champions, the SmackDown tag titles, are taking on the Mysterio family, father and son. Who do you have?
I feel like this one's gonna be the Usos retaining. I feel like they won the belts a month ago. I don't think it would make that much sense to flip-flop them back to the Mysterio family. And I think having the Usos retain makes them look stronger. And if you want them to remain at least like looking dangerous, you can't have them drop it in their first major defense. So I feel like,
especially against the team that they beat, for the titles, like, no, I agree. I've loved the fact that they, I mean, when I heard that they were grouping together Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic, I was like, okay, whatever, like that's kind of whatever. But I mean, they work really well together, like surprisingly enough, father and son. I think Dominic has been very impressive since that weird feud that Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins had, where Rey Mysterio lost an eye.
Oh my god.
I'm also going with the Usos to retain, just because it makes the most sense with the story, because spoiler, I don't think Roman is going to lose the belt to Cena. So it would make the most sense if Roman's going to keep the belt, then the Usos should probably keep their belts and then continue to look as strong as possible until someone ends up defeating them. I kind of think that, like, it feels like there's been a little bit of seeds of like distrust between father and son with the Mysterio family. I think it would be interesting to see Dominic break off and kind of do his own thing, maybe join Roman, maybe, go off and go for some mid-card titles. But I think if they're going to break up, father and son, I feel like it's going to happen this Saturday.
That will be interesting. And it's definitely like trending that way. I feel like maybe down the line we could see a feud between the two of them. Like, you just see it. Like, Ray is more so focused on, what's best for the family and making sure Dominic is okay. And Dominic is he wants to run in just head first. Just
very much.
Bullet guns blazing. So it's like they're clearly going to be butting heads a lot. Whereas like, and I think that could lead to that would be awesome. Oh, that would be great.
That would be really good.
I don't know if the tournament's happening Saturday, maybe a couple months down the line, but if it happens Saturday, man, sheesh, I'll jump out of my seat.
Both of us have Usos. We have yet to defer on a match, but maybe this next one. It's the Raw tag titles. We have Omos and AJ Styles versus RK Bro, which is the not cobbled together, but cobbled together tag team of Randy Orton and Riddle. I'm gonna go with RK Bro here, which is kind of a far shot, but it feels like they've really been setting up Omos for not something else entirely, but to be his own man, which I think is going to be difficult. So far, he's just been the big guy that's been winning these matches for AJ. But I really think that at SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer, it would be too much to pass up to not see Randy Orton and Riddle, doing the Viper pose or whatever on the top rope with those tag titles. It sucks knowing that if RK Bro beats Omos and AJ will probably go their separate ways. I don't know what AJ is going to do. But I'm extremely excited to see what Omos does. And also, I think a title reign with RK Bro, it's another thing where the merch and the money prints itself.
Yeah, this, I mean, you mentioned it on our last prediction, how we haven't predicted anything different, or we haven't differed in our guesses. And it's going to continue here. I think RK Bro is going to pull this one off. We're right here. We're in sync. But Here's the thing. I thought AJ and Omos, excuse me. I thought they were gonna lose the belts last month. I thought they were gonna lose to the Viking Raiders because
Hmm.
the Viking Raiders came back. Then they won that,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, well, dang, now what? And now we're here. I feel
Hmm.
like this just makes perfect sense. I mean, RK Bro, they're awesome. They're just so great. Randy, like Goofy Randy is one of my favorite Randys. Like whenever
Absolutely.
he's just like I don't know if to you I'm making sense, but to the listener I don't know if I'm making sense. But when Randy Orton is just allowed to be goofy and to just make jokes and be himself,
Hmm.
or he's on screen with a funny character, like when he's out there with the New Day and they're
Oh
trying
yeah.
they're trying to make him crack and make him like
Hmm.
that's the funniest thing to me, and we see that with him and Riddle. I think the tag reign is going to get cut short this Saturday, which shocks me because I thought it was going to be over a while ago. But yeah,
Yeah, same.
it's been a great reign, and yeah, unfortunately it's going to come to an end. But everybody in that match, definitely the future is still bright for them. I'm excited to watch it too.
I'm also excited. I really thought that was one where we were going to defer. I kind of thought that RK Bro was kind of like a long shot, but I guess not. Great minds, like I said, we're right here.
We're locked in.
The next match that we have is actually the one that I think is going to be match of the night, in my opinion. It's the one I'm most looking forward to. There's a lot of story behind it. There's a lot of long-term booking put behind it. We got Edge versus Seth
Mm,
Rollins, which I think
yes.
is just gonna I think
Oh,
it's gonna tear the roof down.
yes.
Absolutely, I think it's gonna tear the roof down. Here's an interesting question, and you can lead into who you think will win, but who do you think should win?
Ooh, okay. It's going to be the same answer.
Okay.
Who do I think should win and who I think will win is Seth Rollins. I
Okay.
say that because I feel like Seth needs to win more. Like Edge is already Edge.
It's
He
Edge.
came back exactly. There's
Yeah,
no
like
explanations needed.
yeah.
He came back after a decade of retirement and immediately was just awesome. Match after match with Orton and the Rumble and at WrestleMania. Like he's that guy, right?
Hmm.
He doesn't need this match per se. Whereas Seth, he's not in Edge's tier, or I think he needs this win to move up there. I feel like once he gets this win over Edge, or if that immediately puts him in that next tier with guys like Roman, like
Hmm.
Edge, like Cena. I feel like he needs this big win over a legend like Edge will just do wonders for where he is.
I'll agree with you actually on one of those two questions. I
Okay,
believe
okay.
Seth Rollins should absolutely win this match. Seth Rollins needs it way more than Edge. If Seth Rollins wins this, I would love to see a Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins feud for the belt. Just because, oh my God, like like the story's there, You literally just have to do it. Like, oh, it'd be so easy. But I think that Edge is
Yep.
probably gonna win this because he's the big
Mm.
baby face. He's lost his last couple matches since coming back. Whether it be cheating but from Roman or getting stacked at WrestleMania from Roman. It feels like he hasn't really had like a big baby face moment. I mean, he won the Rumble, which is pretty big, but it feels like he hasn't really had
That's a good point.
a
That's
big
a good
like
point.
crowd reaction since coming back. So I feel like they're going to give it to Edge for the pop alone. But I
Hmm.
mean, Seth Rollins, like I honestly, back when he had the Universal Championship, and he beat Bray Wyatt or the Fiend in Hell in a Cell, like I hated Seth Rollins at that point. Like he was just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
he was too much of a baby. Like I love baby faces, obviously, but like he was too
Hmm.
good. Like it felt like he was unbeatable, even though he was definitely beatable. Like I didn't buy him as being, amazing.
Hmm.
But heel or like tweener Seth Rollins is like my favorite. Him coming out every week in a different outfit,
The
that
suits. The
that insane
suits.
that
Oh
the
my
suits,
god.
man. Like,
Oh my
come on.
god.
And like
Like
the
it's
laugh that he
oh
does, like
oh
I mean,
like
he's
looking at his suits, it just I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're
like
good.
the hilarity of his blazers every week. Like
Yeah.
I don't like for WSU, like we wear suits to basketball games and whatnot. Like
Hmm.
the blazers I have are pretty pretty electric. You know,
Yeah.
the floral and like that's me, the
Hmm.
herringbone, but I can't measure up to what he has. I'm trying to be in his closet because that's ridiculous. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
continue.
it's all good. I like I said, I could talk about Seth Rollins forever. I absolutely love the stuff he's doing right now. I thought his Monday Night Messiah stuff was really good. Like
Mhm.
even in the feud with Rey Mysterio, I was still enjoying his work. And I think him now just being like, I guess his character is just kind of annoying, like more than anything
Yeah,
else.
he's
He just kind of interferes and like screws other people up. I'd love to see Seth win, but I don't see it
Mhm.
happening this Saturday. So I'm gonna go for Edge. You're going for Rollins. There's our first differ. Moving on, the Raw Women's Championship. We have Nikki Ash versus Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match. Nikki Ash. It's apparently a character that Nikki Cross invented and is completely
Mhm.
behind, and WWE's kind of given her the reins. Do you feel like they've kind of fumbled, or Nikki? I don't know. Do you more see Nikki as fumbling it, or the company is fumbling it, or do you just think it's a character that doesn't really work super well?
You know what? I don't know. Like, and again, like you said, this is something that she came up with, and it's something that she pitched to people behind the scenes, and they're letting her run with it. I don't think it's on her per
Hmm.
se, and I love the character. You know, I
Oh yeah.
feel like her cashing in on Charlotte was just such a feel good moment, and it's great to see somebody else in that because no disrespect to Charlotte, I mean she's one of the greatest of all time,
Oh
but
yeah.
her winning time after time after time can get a little repetitive. So
Absolutely.
now seeing Nikki Ash in that role, as that lovable underdog, that people can believe in, like big fan of that. As far as the reception, I don't know. I feel like she again, she's doing great. She's doing awesome, but how people are receiving her, I don't know. Maybe they think it's too childish, perhaps, or maybe it's just not resonating. I don't know. But like she's a good worker. She's awesome, and her promos come off as emphatic and
Hmm.
energetic, and like she means
They
what
seem
she
like
says.
they seem like they're from the heart.
Exactly. Like she's
Yeah.
doing everything in her power. So I'm not upset with her. As far as I'm concerned, if you put the work in, at that point you've done everything there is to do. And if the crowd doesn't want to get behind her, or if they don't know what her gimmick is supposed to be,
Hmm.
or maybe they liked Rhea Ripley as champion more, and adjusting to someone like Nikki Ash is just, I guess, a difficult process for them. I don't know, but I hope the crowd response doesn't lead them to go with a title change this weekend. This might have spoiled my prediction, unfortunately. But I feel like they just got to give her some more time, man. Like again, this is we're just now going back to weekly crowds. Like this has
Hmm.
been a thing for maybe a month or so at this point.
Right.
Like people still gotta find their groove, and obviously when it comes to people like John Cena, and like there are guys that are gonna get those reactions now
Yeah. Yeah.
that crowds are back. But as far as with new characters, for example, or people that didn't get much time, or they're just into a new gimmick, like people still got to warm up to them. So I think people will fall in love with her once they see what she can do on the biggest stage this Saturday.
I agree. I'm gonna agree with you. I think Nikki Ash should probably win this. I think a clean win would probably be really good for the character because she's supposed to be like,
Mm-hmm.
white meat baby face. But if I remember correctly, she cashed in on Charlotte and won the belt in kind of not a super baby face manner. I mean, she did have a rematch that she won, but I
Yeah.
feel like a clean win over Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, I think that would do really good things for her character and also staple
Mhm.
her as like kind of living up to the name of almost superhero. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I love like I mean the only other superhero wrestler that I can think of is the Hurricane, and I
Hurricane.
love
Yeah.
the Hurricane.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of Nikki Ash, and it seems like a character that she's really into.
Hmm.
So I'd love to see her continue. I'm glad you brought up the thing about Charlotte, about her kind of just winning every title. I mean, she's done literally everything, and she's wrestled everyone. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I feel like the only thing that Charlotte could do to make me interested in new things for her would be to leave WWE and face other people in other promotions because she's been in WWE pretty much her entire career. So there's not much she
Yeah.
hasn't
That
done
would
in
be
the
interesting.
company. I would love to see
That would
her
be
do
interesting.
some stuff in other worlds. I mean, her father just showed up at a show in Mexico with Andrade. So, I mean, I'd love to
Yeah.
see Charlotte, do.
That's the thing. If anything, like maybe not something as drastic as, and again, I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're good.
maybe
Go for it.
something not as drastic as a promotion change, but maybe
Mhm.
her moving to SmackDown would be interesting. Because then, I mean, SmackDown's got Bianca, and they've got
Mhm.
Toni Storm, and they've got Sasha. Like, there's a bunch of really credible talents over on SmackDown. Like, they just called up Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan
That's true.
Knox.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
there's a lot to work with over there. Whereas Raw, it's
Kind of
Alexa
dry.
Bliss, and it's
Yeah.
like, and who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe after SummerSlam, maybe on Monday they call up some more people from NXT, or they bring in
Mhm.
somebody else. But like we see on SmackDown, they've already started doing that, so
Mhm.
it's a little dry on Raw for her. And it seems like you said, every week it's just been Rhea, Charlotte, Rhea, Charlotte, Rhea, Charlotte, and then they interjected Nikki, and now it's just the same three.
The same
Like
thing.
occasionally Asuka, and like it's I just feel like she could benefit from a change. So clean loss to Nikki, slide her over to SmackDown,
Mhm.
make things a little more interesting. And I think that would do wonders for her career, and it would just add a breath of fresh air, if you will. Because I can't remember the last time she was on SmackDown. Honestly, I can't remember it.
Yeah, same. I didn't even think about Charlotte and like Bianca feud until you brought it up. The only thing that worries me is that if I see them wrestle, I'm gonna be worried that they're gonna have Bianca lose. That's the only thing that I'm worried about in that
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah, that's
But
that's also a credible point, because
yeah,
I'm convinced by the time she's retired, she's gonna finish with 20 titles or something.
yeah,
Oh,
something insane, something absolutely insane. So once again, we agree on Nikki Ash. Moving on to a match that I think is going to be better than expected, just because Bobby Lashley is amazing. But for the WWE Championship, we have Bobby Lashley, the champion, versus Goldberg. I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley just because I don't think they're going to give the WWE Championship to
yeah,
Goldberg. Although I also thought that when Goldberg faced the Fiend. And also Kevin Owens.
yeah.
But whatever. I'm gonna go Bobby Lashley just because I think there's so much more. There's so much more that they can do with him.
Mhm.
I think the most interesting thing for me here, at least in my mind, is thinking about who's gonna take the title off of Bobby Lashley. Because
Mhm.
I have a bit of a scenario, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm listening.
so there's a draft coming up sometime later this year.
Mhm.
Right now, Big E is on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Big E's not going to beat Roman. I don't think he's going to cash in on
Mhm.
Roman because Big E seems like the kind of guy who wouldn't. He might cheat a little, but he's not going to cash in at the end, pin him, and be proud of that
Yeah.
victory. He's going to
Yeah.
announce it beforehand, and he's going to set it up for a pay-per-view like a WrestleMania or something. So I think they're going to move Big E to Raw, and I think Big E is
Mhm.
going to make it apparent that he wants Bobby Lashley for the belt. And I think MVP will probably have Bobby Lashley go through some trials or something. But in the perfect world, in my opinion, and what I want a mirror image of what is your Zoom background right now, but with Big E in the middle being hoisted up by Kofi. I mean, that'd be kind of hard. Big E's a big guy, but being hoisted up by Xavier and Kofi, I don't know. I want Big E to be the one to take it from Bobby because I just think that match would be amazing. But
That's interesting. That's interesting. You know what? That's okay. So I'm gonna start with my prediction. I think
go for it.
Bobby is going to win because, of course, I really hope. I'm praying. I'm
It's
hoping.
scary.
I'm
It's really
I'm
scary.
I'm begging and pleading. Like, please. Like Goldberg is great. Like, I love him.
Yeah,
Like, he's
he's a big
awesome.
guy. Yeah, he's a
Please,
name.
please, please, for
Yeah.
the love of God, don't do me like this, please. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. So I think Bobby's gonna win.
Hmm.
As far as your prediction down the line, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Cause like I feel like you look at SmackDown and like, and this is gonna spoil our prediction. Well, you already spoiled yours earlier, but I think Roman's gonna
Yeah.
win on Saturday. And there's no really like viable guys to take the belt from him aside from like Finn and maybe a future call up. Whereas like I feel personally, I think Big E has a great shot to beat Roman, and I want that to be next year's Mania main event. I'm begging and pleading. But if they move him to Raw and have him cash in on Bobby and have him also reunite with the New Day who are on Raw, would I be totally opposed to that? No, not at all.
I don't think anybody would.
I would love that. That would be great. That would be because I mean it makes sense. Like we've now had we've now had like a year or so to see Big E on SmackDown by himself, and he had that great IC title run, and like we saw what he could do with Apollo and with Kevin, like week in and week out, just amazing matches from him. And now they gave him the briefcase, Money in the Bank, like that strapped a rocket to his back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we know it's just a matter of time. Now the question is, who does he cash in on? So who knows? And honestly, I feel like him cashing in on Bobby makes more sense because, like I said, like Roman at Mania, like if he cashes in, is he gonna win that match? I don't know. Because like you said, he'd probably announce it beforehand if it was on Roman, because he wants to be a good guy and he wants to be, you know,
he wants to earn it.
Awesome. Yeah. And on that stage, do I want Big E to win? Yes. Will it happen? Slim chance. Very, very, very slim chance. Whereas
not against Roman.
Bobby, especially on the biggest stage of them all. Whereas against Bobby, super realistic, super easy, and it makes sense. And you know, it would tie into what we've seen in the past with Bobby picking on Xavier and what they did in Hell in a Cell, and their feud with Kofi. Like everything makes sense. It's all there for them. Like we've been saying, over the course of this pod, the money prints itself. That's just like a clear way to do things. So as far as this weekend, I think Bobby's gonna win. As far as future plans, I would like to see Big E cash in on him.
I just think the idea of Big E and Bobby Lashley wrestling, like going at it in a ring, is just like, my God, just two big boys going at it. That's
two big meaty men. But me.
Hey man, it writes itself. Literally, it writes itself. The story's
it's right there. It's right there.
Yeah, but once again, nothing's changing. Bobby Lashley's going to retain. It'll probably be a fine match. Moving on to another match of the night contender, in my opinion, the rematch from WrestleMania. I mean, you can kind of call it a rematch. Bianca Belair, the SmackDown Women's Champion, versus Sasha Banks. Sasha's earned her position here, but it is the exact same match that we saw at WrestleMania as of this year, where Bianca beat Sasha for the women's SmackDown Women's Championship. So I personally think Bianca's going to retain again. I think there's still a lot that she could do. You mentioned a lot of great names, a lot of recent NXT call-ups that are on SmackDown that have yet to, even show up on the same screen as Bianca. I just feel like there's too much wasted potential there. And Bianca's great. Like Bianca Belair is probably one of the better wrestlers in the company. And I just think, I don't know, she could do anything. And I mean, she wrestled Carmel at Lollapalooza, and that was like the coolest thing in the world. I don't know. I'm a big Bianca Belair fan, so I'm going to have her retain here.
I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like Sasha's great, awesome, right? But it's the
Amazing.
same. It's the same way I felt back at WrestleMania. Like Sasha doesn't, and I use this way of thinking with Seth and Edge. Like Sasha doesn't need this win. She can lose, disappear, come back several months down the line, still be right at the top of the card. Whereas if Bianca loses now, like 5 months or so after Mania, I feel like, I don't know. And she's had a great run. She's had an awesome run. But I think work she's done, over the past couple of weeks with Carmella and with Zelina and now with she's just been great. And I would hate to see it end now just because Sasha's back. I feel like Sasha doesn't need the title to be elite. She doesn't need the title to be at the top of the card. So I feel like Bianca's going to get this win. And then, like I mentioned, all the big names, coming up. There's just so many people for Bianca to work with, and maybe even more people in the future. The NXT call-ups. For all we know, they may not be done with that. So, I would like to see those matchups more than Sasha having the belt again. And that's not to say she doesn't deserve it, right? Like, she's great. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Please,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't
It's
want
Sasha
anyone,
Banks.
exactly. I don't want anyone to take this as Sasha slander. She's
Mm-hmm.
so great. She's really awesome. But again, and I use the same explanation as, reason as to why Bianca should win at Mania. She needs to win more. She
Mm-hmm.
just needs more. And I think Sasha coming back and beating her, while it's an outcome I wouldn't mind, it's an outcome I wouldn't mind. I think I don't want Bianca's reign to end so soon. But also, right, okay, if Sasha wins, then that just sets up an even longer feud between the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
for months down the line. And it's definitely a foreseeable path to Sasha getting the win back between the two of them this Saturday, and then having them just settle it, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
a Hell in a Cell or some other pay-per-view down the line, maybe TLC, I don't know, where Bianca wins it back and then she becomes, a two-time champ. So maybe that happens. But I'd like to see Bianca's reign continue this weekend. So I'm gonna predict for her to win.
Hmm. Man, now that you mention it, I love the idea of like a Bianca versus Sasha Hell in a Cell or like a TLC match.
Exactly. I'm saying, right? Like, and for that to happen, like, Sasha kind of needs to win it back. So then Bianca can win it back. Like, it's just like you see it. Like it's
Yeah, I
there.
see it.
Like if that happens, I'm a fan. But like if it doesn't happen and Bianca retains, like I'm cool with that too. Like
Yeah,
either way is a victory
it's a
for
win.
the fans. Either way.
Absolutely, it's a win. It's absolutely a win.
And I think I'm talking myself into it now. Wait, hold on. Wait,
Yeah, I
no.
was honestly,
Wait, no,
you might have talked me into having Sasha win.
Oh man. Oh, see? Well, dang it. Okay. I think we're gonna switch our prediction. I think we're gonna
Okay,
switch it. Yeah,
switch it.
okay.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'll keep Bianca, just devil's
Okay.
advocate. You
All
can go
right.
for
Okay.
Sasha because you're the
Yeah.
one that introduced, that
Dang.
amazing
Man.
idea.
Man, it
Okay.
was completely inadvertent too. But yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
Hey, at
Sasha
least
winning
now we
and then
differ in 2 different points, which is nice.
yeah, yeah.
It's
All
not
right.
just Edge versus Rollins that's going to decide this.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've kind of already spoiled our picks for this one, but Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion versus John Cena. I think Roman's going to win this. It makes total sense for Roman to win. I think he's kind of unbeatable as he is right now. Like the story is too good. Like I love Finn Balor when he came back, and was almost immediately inserted into a feud with the Universal Champion, which he was the first ever Universal Champion, Finn. I was
Yeah.
over the moon excited. But even if it was Finn Balor versus Roman, I would still want Roman to win just because the story has been so good so far.
Yeah.
And I love seeing Roman as champion. Like he is the first Universal Champion that I can think of that has really made the belt his own. Like, I mean, the Fiend literally made it his own. He had his own belt, but like it kind of felt like he was kind of above championships. Whereas with the story going with Roman as the head of the table, as like the leader of like, the Usos and like his tribe or whatever, like he needs that belt, and I think it'll be really interesting to see who can beat him for that belt. But I've got no clue who's even on any any WWE programming right now that could even take that belt off of him. They'd have to do a lot of build up for that.
It's yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that point. Like honestly, I'm thinking like Keith Lee maybe, but
with
even with him, it's gonna take a lot, with his condition, and he's gonna have to build himself back up. But like we saw, he could be that guy, like way back. What was that Survivor Series, like 2019 maybe?
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
that
I
was
forgot
a while
about that. Oh my god.
Like that's one guy I could see.
Yeah.
Maybe Kyle O'Reilly. Maybe, possibly, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Finn after several months. Like I don't know, but like you said, it's very slim pickings right now as to who could. And if you want someone to topple the tribal chief, like you got to build them up to a point where they look right on par. Like what they were doing with Edge, like they were building him like crazy to the point where I thought he was gonna win at Mania, and then he didn't.
So did I.
Like that was the ultimate swerve. Like I need to see that sort of build up, but not over just 2 months. I need it over like half a year.
Yeah,
like
right.
I want to look at a guy and say, like he's gonna win. like because
Mhm.
you can't have because again, like heading into this weekend or last month or the month before that, really every period for last year, there was never an avenue to where I could see Roman losing. Like
Mhm.
KO had me on the ropes a few
Yeah, no,
times.
KO had me. Yeah,
He had me a
I
couple
was
times.
hopeful, but
He
even
had
then,
me a few
I
times.
I love Kevin Owens, but like
Yeah,
that I think honestly that is the only match where during the duration of it, I switched from being like, oh, there's no way Roman's gonna lose
he
to being
had
like,
me.
oh my God,
Oh,
Roman might
he had
lose.
me.
Like, oh,
He had me a few times.
that match was so much fun.
It was madness. But yeah, like we need to see that level of build up, like what they did with KO, like what they did with Edge, like what they did to an extent with Daniel Bryan. We need to see that and then some. Just
Right.
because clearly what they did for those guys wasn't enough because they lost. Like
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
to see a lot of that.
Hmm.
And obviously with John Cena, it's just John Cena. Like there was no build
Yeah,
up. It's
right.
just
I
it's
think it'll
just who
be a
he
good
is.
match. I remember the first year that I started watching wrestling, they had a match at No Mercy 2016. I think that match was fantastic. I mean, Roman won. That was when he was getting booed relentlessly for being, pushed too hard. But I
Yeah.
really love that match, and I think Roman versus Cena might surprise. But I mean, I still think Edge versus Rollins is going to steal the show. I think
Mhm.
almost an AJ versus RK Bro might be the most fun match and might have the most like happy ending, quote unquote. But I really think Edge and Rollins is gonna kill it. What do you think your the best match tonight's gonna be?
Ooh, best match of the night.
There's a good bit to pick from.
There's a few options. I'm gonna say AJ and Omos against RK Bro. That's definitely like Reigns and Cena. I'm gonna be glued to the screen for, which is
Hmm.
gonna be awesome. Bobby and Goldberg. It's gonna be 5 minutes. So if I leave to microwave something and come back, it might already be over.
It'll be over,
So
yeah.
I can't get up during that one. But I think AJ and Omos against RK Bro, like that's three of the best workers in the company, and then Omos, who's gotten nothing but glowing reviews from
Hmm.
like everybody backstage, and every time he's done in ring stuff, it's been great. Like I'm
Hmm.
just excited to see that for sure, just because of how the four of them work together. So I'd say that one's gonna be the best match of the night, and it's definitely the one I'm excited to watch the most.
Yeah, I'm so excited seeing. I mean, I can't remember recently, but seeing Randy Orton square off with someone that tall is just gonna be so
It's
exciting.
hilarious. It's
It's
awesome.
so funny.
He's
It's
like
so
seven
funny.
three. Like
Yeah,
he's 7'3" moving like that. Like he's a legit 7'3". He's not like a Kane 7 foot where he's actually 6'9". Like no,
yeah.
he's
Actually,
towering over these people, and
he's,
he's
he's
so light on his feet. And every move he does it with like impact and
Mhm.
emotion. Like it looks like it hurts. Like
Oh yeah,
the sky's the limit for him. I'm excited.
yeah. I think if they play their cards right, almost could be one of the better big men that we've seen, at least in recent history.
Hmm.
Above all else. But I think that about wraps up, today's SummerSlam predictions. Hopefully, I mean, odds are this card doesn't feel too up in the air.
Hmm.
I mean, we made some different picks, but most of them were the same. SummerSlam's this Saturday, so watch along and make sure you tune into the next episode of PTV Heat. For Evan Hill, this is Cooper Tennant. Have a great day.